Something to think about. On June 10th, 2026, the Regional Court of Munich ruled that Google is legally liable for false claims that appear in its AI overview feature. It's an important decision that could impact how companies that provide AI-generated answers deliver information to end users. It could also impact the trustworthiness of not only the information, but the companies themselves. An analysis done by OMI, an AI startup, shows that Google's AI overview feature is accurate about 90% of the time. Now that sounds really high, but consider the scale. Daily, there are between 14 and 16 billion searches. If an AI overview appeared for every search, a 10% error rate would add up to between 1.4 and 1.6 billion inaccurate answers every single day. And since Google is one of the largest global sources of information, this massive body of inaccurate, false, or misleading information can result in any number of harms, depending on how the information is used. A New York Times article from April 7th, 2026 included examples from the OMI study that illustrated how Google's AI overview misidentified easily verifiable facts, like the location of the Neuse River in North Carolina and the date that Bob Marley's home was designated as a museum. Now, while those might seem like small, innocuous mistakes, the AI overview has also provided false responses that include defamatory or misleading information about companies and individuals. In fact, defamation was the basis of the German court case that I mentioned at the top of the episode. The plaintiffs, two Munich-based publishing companies, sued because Google's AI overview incorrectly suggested that both companies were engaging in fraudulent and unethical business practices. So what is Google's AI overview? How does it work, and where do the answers come from? In May of 2024, Google introduced the AI overview as part of its search results. The AI overview appears at the top of the page above any ads or traditional search results. For example, a person searching for strawberries receives an AI overview that says something like, strawberries are delicious, nutrient-dense, aggregate accessory fruits belonging to the rose family, and then gives a link to the source or sources from which that summary information was drawn. In this case, WebMD, Washington State University, Britannica, and 3 links to California strawberries. The AI overview for strawberries also includes nutrition information, information about types of strawberries, and where you can buy them locally, including links to those retailers. Now, it's reasonable to believe that search results for common benign information about fruit, let's say, would not be problematic. But let's look at the results for strawberries a little more closely. The AI overview explains that strawberries have 7 grams of naturally occurring sugar per 1 cup of strawberries, and it provides 5 sources for that information. But 2 sources, California Strawberries, which is the official website of California strawberry industry, and The Berry Buzz, which is a blog owned by the privately held company California Giant Berry Farms, both list 8, not 7 grams of sugar for a serving size of 8 strawberries. 2 other listed sources, a UK-based website called Weekdays and a Canadian women's magazine called Chatelaine, don't mention grams of sugar per serving or serving size at all. The 5th source, the Mayo Clinic Health System, is the last link included, and that's where the 1 cup, 7 grams of sugar information provided in the AI overview comes from. Why was it necessary to provide 5 sources only to ignore 4 of them and to include 2 that don't align with the provided information at all? And why bury the main source and perhaps the least biased source at the very bottom? Now you're probably thinking, who cares, Emily? Because it's just strawberries. Besides, the AI overview did link to the Mayo Clinic site it referenced, and the variance in sugar content you just pointed out, 1 gram, which is basically nothing. And that's fair. It's unlikely that even somebody with dietary restrictions who used this AI overview information about strawberries would actually be harmed due to a variance of a single gram of sugar. But there's a bigger problem at play here. It is likely that most people using Google intrinsically trust its AI overview explanations and assume that what they're reading is accurate information distilled directly from trustworthy sources. But at least one German court disagreed and ruled against Google, holding the company responsible for its results. This court contends that Google's AI overview is not a search function, which queries existing information and provides a list of links to sites that contain relevant info. No, this is artificial intelligence synthesizing old information to create something new. And as we've seen, Google's AI overview doesn't discriminate among sources. It will list items that provide different information or even no relevant information at all as sources. This can obviously be dangerous when it comes to queries about health, finances, or other topics where a person could put themselves at risk if they rely on incorrect information. So what does this mean for end users like us? What, if anything, might change as a result of this ruling? Well, for now, this case is between Google and the publishers who sued. Google is liable for any damages to the plaintiffs and also for 80% of the legal fees. And that's basically it. At this time, there won't be any changes to AI overview or its results. However, the ruling and its rationale will likely influence other ongoing court cases and maybe prompt new ones. It might also prompt a fresh look at how companies like Google, OpenAI, or Anthropic create results. Laws differ from country to country and in the US from state to state, but 3 significant decisions from this case could have a wider impact. First, this German court case could set a new precedent that the rules that apply to search engines don't apply to AI overview. Here in the US, a law called Section 230 has long shielded tech companies from liability for the information that circulates on their platforms. For example, if someone posts a defamatory statement about you on Reddit, the person who wrote it could potentially be held responsible. Reddit itself generally cannot. That's because Section 230 treats internet platforms as intermediaries that host information created by other people, not as publishers who are responsible for creating information themselves. But the German case complicates this. The court said that Google's AI overview generates, quote, independent, new, substantive statements, end quote, which is different from acting as an intermediary and providing a list of links pertaining to your search terms. Second, AI overview content is not protected as free speech because it is, quote, not the expression of an acquired conviction of the persons expressing it, but the result of an algorithm, end quote. This means that tech companies in a position like Google's cannot claim free speech protections to avoid liability. Third, the German court asserts that users are not responsible for fact-checking AI overview results, and that if the AI overview draws incorrect information from an online source, that doesn't excuse them. Google is still liable for the false statement. This means that Google cannot place the blame for false or misleading information on the user by suggesting that we didn't do our due diligence or on other internet sources. Of course, we're just talking about a possible precedent here. Google is appealing this ruling, and so immediate change isn't going to happen, most likely. So what can you as a user do in the meantime? Well, if you use Google, one option is just to skip past the AI overview and go directly to the traditional search results. If you do rely on the AI overview, remember that it generates, on average, more than 1.5 billion incorrect results each day. So check the sources that it lists. It's also a good idea to avoid using the AI overview to find specific facts that require accuracy, health-related info, or information that's open to interpretation and then vulnerable to distortion as a result. Think about questions related to politics or public policy. You can also, of course, bypass Google and other search engines altogether by going directly to the website of the company, service, or agency, maybe university, that you're interested in and getting your information straight from the source. And when it comes to topics like health, keep in mind it's always best to talk to a healthcare provider and avoid internet sources altogether. What the ruling against Google ultimately shows is that when it comes to AI results, a 90% accuracy rate isn't good enough. It's up to companies like Google to make a good faith effort to improve their technology because they can't blame their shortcomings on us, the customers. Even though this case won't necessarily have a legal impact in the United States, we can hope that other AI companies are paying attention and adjusting their large language models, or LLMs, to avoid providing false or harmful information. So, the next time you type a search phrase into Google and that familiar AI overview box pops up at the top of your screen, I hope this has given you something to think about.